What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Crypto Airborne in the house, dropping you guys the latest and greatest cryptocurrency news and updates. We're going to be doing the every Wednesday VGX Heroes Twitter Spaces AMA. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'm going to do a quick market overview here real quick. Hopefully I don't have any technical difficulties like I did last time. But if you guys don't already follow me, go follow me on Twitter at crypto_airborne. That's where I do all my quickest updates throughout the day. If you guys want to follow me there. But anyway, market's a little down today. We're down about 3.39%. Bitcoin's at about 64,834. Ethereum's down about 2.5% at 4,600. Solana's down 0.69%. And Cardano's also down about 6%, sitting at about $2.10. Crypto bubbles, top 100 tokens and coins. We got IOTX up 64%. Insane. Mina, haven't heard of that one, up 32%, sitting at $5.68. Let's go look at our favorites. We got the Voyager tokens down about 2.4%, sitting at $2.58. CKB, what a comeback, up 13%, sitting at about 0.0287. Total crypto market cap, we've gone down since the dip earlier today, although I don't know if this is accurate, so I always use CoinGecko. It seems to be more accurate. So we're at about $2.9 trillion, just below that $3 trillion total crypto market cap. Fear and Greed Index went up a couple points to 77. Extreme greed. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Bitcoin dominance is kind of going sideways a little bit, so we're sitting at about 43.83. Voyager token, let me just refresh this. We're sitting at about $2.59 here on CoinMarketCap. 24-hour volume, we have about $4.7 million. But yeah, it's going to be interesting AMA today. We've, since October 27th or 28th, when Voyager did the announcement of the partnership with Dallas Mavericks, just kind of catalysted the price action upwards. We have everything. Voyager secured $75 million strategic investment from Alameda Research. They've partnered with Avalanche. They're going to be bringing staking NFTs and DeFi to Voyager. We've also have the Voyager token integrated into Coinify's global crypto payment platform, which is good to see. And then again on Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, they will be doing their 2022 results and business update conference calls. So that'll be interesting. Other things this week, Voyager Digital won the Benzinga's Best Software for Trading Cryptocurrency Award. Got lots of stuff. They just added Axie Infinity gaming token coin. And then recently they added Phantom, and I believe they're going to be adding some more in the near future before the end of the year. And the big news today is they surpassed 1 million funded accounts. So that's huge. All that news leading up, to the million funded accounts, and I believe 2.7 million verified users. So again, guys, I'm just going to make sure that you guys can hear me, to the million funded. All right, because I have it pulled up on a second screen here, but I'm just double checking. Let me go to the VGX Heroes. Let's see if I can hear them. I don't think anybody is talking yet, but I got Edge pulled up just in case the same issue happened last week. So we'll see if I can see anyone talking, and then I'll mute myself, and you guys have a great show.
How y'all doing? As I ask with nobody else that has a mic, how y'all doing? Good, I hope. Give us a couple minutes here to get set up.
Hi. Good to be back, everybody. The first few minutes, I'm going to be a little quiet. I'm down here in Florida, and I live like 15 miles from where SpaceX is about to launch. And it launches at 9:03, so I'm going to be watching that. But good to see everybody. Glad to be back. Missed y'all. Busy week last week. But good to be back.
Good to have you back, man. It's not the same without you.
I don't know. That's not what I heard. No, I'm just kidding. But, good. Things continue as is without me.
Don't sell yourself short, Pepe.
Thanks, friend. Good to see everybody. Give everybody a few more minutes to join in. We start getting introductions going. Can we get around 100? Get some excitement going. There we go. And if it didn't go without saying, watching the ship, I'm outside. So if you hear like ambient noise, just ignore it. But as always, Crypto Airborne is going to be recording this. I'm going to be on his YouTube channel. If you missed any part of it or just want to go back, rewatch, slow it down, anything like that, absolutely do that. Just drop a subscription or subscribe to him. Follow the VGX Hero Twitter page. Join the VGX Hero Discord. So much going on over there. So much good info. Love to have you. But we're a little after, so I know Michael's also watching the ship. But so we can start with Floki. You want to do a quick introduction?
What's going on? Y'all know me. I'm the Viking who speaks from the heart. Founded Heroes with Aragorn and Maximus. Really excited to be here, per usual, to learn what I can off the really smart panel, just like y'all. And real quick, shout out to the Predator, Chase Young, in the house, looking fresh with the new profile pic from our artist. Nice job, man. All right, passing it on.
Love to have you, as always. Crypto Daddy Pig, you want to say hey to the friend?
Hello, friends. It's me, Crypto Daddy Pig. I picked up crypto in 2020, fell down a rabbit hole of a bunch of weird dudes who taught me how to draw a bunch of weird charts, and I've been on the hook ever since. I moderate in the charting section of our Discord. I post my laser light show charts, as they are lovingly called, when I see certain setups that I like on Twitter, and I apologize for getting a little too hypey last week. I do my best to say good morning to you guys every day, and I love you all.
I thought it was vice versa on the charts. I thought you were the one teaching us the crazy charts.
Absolutely.
Have you seen his launch?
Okay. Who we got next? Stone Cold?
Hey guys. Tonight we have a bottle of Evan Williams single barrel and smoking a Caldwell Maduro. Cover all the VGX numbers. We're going to cover a little bit of the last quarterly report that just came out. And also, how about a round of hundreds for Mr. Michael Corleone for absolutely nailing the Voyager stock today? Jesus, right on the money. Oh, thank you, friend.
Frankie?
Hey guys, Frankie here. Also go by the VGX Hero of Jack Nicholson. I am your current events and news guy. Thank you all for joining us this nice evening.
And
So
how about, go
I'm
ahead.
being a mom and recording it. My bad. I'm back. That's kind of sick. But all right. Good to see everybody. Yeah, we got everybody. So yeah, let me go back inside, get my notes. But if we want to start off with going over some VGX news, a lot going on the past week. So if we want to start off talking about the we can start off with Coinify if y'all need to start off there.
Yeah, thanks, Pepe. Yeah, news today was with Coinify and Voyager integrating the VGX into Coinify that onboards like something along the lines of 30,000 merchants. My personal opinion, that's also why Voyager onboarded or has a partnership with StormX to bring in some more utility to the token. So I think this is just the beginning. Some more, we also heard that the 1 million funded accounts, that's something along the order of 44x year over year. And we saw that little tweet from Steve today saying, he's thinking maybe 2 or 3 million pretty soon. So it's all good news. Things look to be going up, and I think personally, no financial advice here, but seems like maybe we'll see this reflected in the token pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that doesn't know how Coinify works, it handles the conversion internally. So if you want to buy something with VGX, you swipe, Coinify would give the merchant, the USD. So, but yeah, you can go ahead, Stone Cold.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so Coinify is basically international at this point, correct? Or mainly international?
That's right.
So do we have any idea when and if that is going to be available to the US customers where they can sign up and start buying things with VGX, or is there too much of a tax implication with that being onboarded right away?
That's not really my area of expertise. If somebody else has some insight on that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know either. I mean, I think that everyone's favorite phrase is soon, but something that anecdotal. I don't know. By no means am I in the know at all, but it seems like the way Voyager's been operating is, from a game theory perspective. Personally, again, please take this with a grain of salt. I know nothing. That it seems like they want to see how the regulators shake and bake their competitors first, and they seem to take steps from their competitors' missteps and adjust accordingly. Again, my own opinion on it. So, circling back to your question on when US, I think when they figure out what's going on with with Coinbase and the regulatory implications they have with that. But again, I know nothing. I'm not an insider. This is not financial advice. So did I cover my bases here, Pepe?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think it's, it would be nice to be in the US, but it's more beneficial outside the US since naturally, I mean, US, we're going to have debit cards and it'll kind of, be able to handle that for us in a way. But I definitely, looking forward to when it is in the US, even though I don't really want to spend VGX on, some gas or some snacks or anything, but it would definitely be a cool thing to have, as, an alternative just in case, but
well, along those lines though, when the news first broke, I saw a lot of people kind of in the same mindset where, why would I want to spend it? But I think that Steve even himself in a tweet alluded to potentially some incentivization to have people spend via the Coinify mechanism by introducing discounts with either the merchant services or, who knows what they've got up their sleeve. But it sounds like there will be, at least in some capacity, a discount mechanism for using that feature. So in that way, if it kind of promotes more of using VGX as a medium of exchange, I think it only adds to the utility of the token and the platform.
Absolutely. But it does sound like Steve's trying to steal my Steve. So I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick and say something about that. I think we're all fortunate enough, most of us in here, to have the ability to put money away and not touch it and just invest it. Not everybody has that option. So having the ability to spend our VGX on goods or whatever is huge for people just getting started in their investment journey. Now they don't need to choose between, do I need to put this money away and never touch it for a long time, or get this or get that, and the day-to-day things that they need to live. I think this is a huge deal, a really good thing happening for VGX. We may not spend it on a burrito, but there are people that that can now. They can now invest and get their favorite burrito.
Yeah, I also think it maybe helps with the narrative of the people that are just obsessed with the fact that they think that everybody sells all their interest in the first 5 days of every month. That if people were able to actually spend that interest in kind, and anyone that was inclined to in any way, shape, or form liquidate, which is entirely their business to do so, let's not forget that, maybe it somewhat smooths that process out so that it's not a 5-day process, even though the numbers don't really support that being the case. At least the conspiracy theory just seems to refuse to die, because it's just easier to repeat a lie than to actually educate yourself on the truth. But if you're fearful that people dump all their VGX interest in the first 5 days of the month, maybe a feature by which they can spend it gradually over the course of the month on their monthly expenditures is a bit more palatable for those folks that just refuse to stop beating that drum.
Yeah, and even Stone Cold, I know he had even the first of the month had like numbers to back up that people weren't just dumping the first, or like the people that were earning interest weren't the ones selling. But definitely so. I mean, the more options that we have, the better. But I mean, that's huge, and that's just one of the huge points. I mean, we had the Avalanche news. The 1 million. We got some more earnings coming up, so there's a lot of good coming. And we're just getting started. Funded accounts is just a snowball effect. Your first million's the hardest million to get. So, and to be fair, we've had very little marketing, for better or worse. But I mean, for mostly the majority of the time being just Twitter based for marketing, look how far we've come, and marketing is just only going to ramp up. So, there's still so much to come. But while we're on that, Stone Cold, you want to get in some numbers?
Yeah, so we had the quarterly reports we waited about 6 months for. It finally came out last week. A couple of the interesting numbers. So last quarter, the community held about 120.7 million VGX, and that has bumped up to 133.9 million. So we almost had 14 million on trend too with VGX, and then you had the market falling right after that. So that's still pretty encouraging that you're having 14 million. And then overall, including Voyager's holdings, we're up to 139 million. So numbers keep going up and up. I looked at the staking numbers today, and we're up to 186.2 million tokens that are staked. That's up about 1.2 million over the last month. And another interesting thing I saw in the reports were, so Voyager breaks down like the top 10 token holdings per customer. So question for the panel. There were 2 tokens that made it inside the top 10 this last quarter that were not there in March. Any guesses as to what those 2 are?
Give me a second. Somebody else answer first. Let me think about this.
Squid Game.
So is this total number or amount of holders? Like
the dollar value. Dollar value, the total amount. Nope.
AVAX. I would no. I think AVAX is already up there.
Oh, you guys are way off.
CBK and SHIB?
CKB.
Nope, it is SHIB and Doge. They were outside the top 10, and they were firmly in the top 10 this go around.
Interesting. I figured Doge was already up there. And SHIB, like, I thought that would be the 2 obvious answer. I figured, no, yeah, that sounds about right.
So as much as some of us have disdain for those tokens and their questionable utility, I would say is being kind, can't argue against what that has done for the platform. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Absolutely. It just shows how smart it was to get on SHIB before it blew up. I mean, as much as it got hate, I mean, that's the whole point of the platform, to have any token or whatever token somebody wants to buy, they can have it. But I saw you come up here. You got a question for us, my friend?
Yes. When you guys mentioned staking on Voyager, does that just mean having the tokens, or is there a procedure to stake it?
So yeah, that number includes everything that's held on Voyager for the customers that's automatically staked, and also for the international customers that are staking through MetaMask. So it's a combination of those 2.
Thank you. It's not like staking my Cardano somewhere.
No, you don't have to lock it up. It's just by holding it on the platform, or if you're through MetaMask, you have to physically stake it. But on the Voyager, it's just holding it. That would be the staking number.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming up here.
Yep. I love it.
Yep. But Stone Cold, do you have any more numbers, or were you about finished up?
Yeah, that's about it. And then we have our next report coming out Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. So we'll be looking at that, and I'm expecting a bigger jump than the 14 million we had last quarter. So I'm thinking at least 20 million. That's where I'm kind of putting my money on right now.
Yeah, and for everybody that doesn't know, the report we had last week or 2 weeks ago, that was for the quarter before. It was kind of a delayed with the stock exchange listings. So it was the quarter of the big downtrend. So this quarter that it's about to report is, getting the uptrend, and so I believe it's going to be significantly more positive.
And guys, real quick before we forget, don't forget to hit the tweet button in the bottom right corner to spread the word that we're doing this. And I want to encourage all of you guys to raise your hand and speak up and just interrupt us if you have any thoughts about anything that we're talking about. Didn't really have a moment there for the Coinify thing. So if there's anyone that has some thoughts on the Coinify, it's been a long day. Coinify stuff, speak up before we move on.
Go ahead, Michael. Actually, go ahead.
No, mine actually wasn't on Coinify. I was going to try to take the next topic. So if anybody's got Coinify stuff, now would be a good time to pop up.
And if you're a little delayed, it's cool. We don't mind backtracking. It's not ideal, but if you have a last second thought or something comes up about a previous topic, absolutely come up here. We don't mind at all. But you can go ahead, Michael.
So a couple of quick things. For one, I was watching the rocket launch when you first introed, so sorry I didn't intro myself, but everybody hopefully knows me by now. I did hear the gracious shout out from Stone Cold though about nailing the stock price. I have to give credit where credit is due. I would not have been able to do that had I not learned the GAN box charting technique from our very own Crypto Daddy Pig. So something for everybody in the community to be aware of. We are working on putting together a charting and TA educational session so that people can learn how some of our best chartists actually create their charts, including Crypto Daddy Pig, and I think Thor, or Crypto I think is his Twitter handle, is going to be involved, and a couple others. So keep your eye out for some news on that. I think it'll probably end up being on Crypto Airborne's channel. But I personally, when we first got into the Discord, engaged with Crypto Daddy Pig before we really knew each other very well, and we were just up late one night in the charts channel, just tossing ideas back and forth. And I think he covered his laser light show charts with me, and I covered some TD sequential indicators with him. And I think we learned a lot from each other, but we went back and forth, and ultimately this VGX or VYGVF chart that Stone Cold was referring to is one that I put together back in mid-September while we were discussing it with Piggy, and I have not touched it since, and it has been like an oracle to literally today to the penny. The bounce was 1 penny from where the chart said it would be, and to the upside it was within, I think, 10 cents and within 24 hours of where we were calling it, weeks ago. It's not like this is something where it's going, you're like, yeah, I think it's going to go there. Like we were able to call this based on the charting from before the move even starting. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. And I think anybody that's got an interest in TA or got an interest when you see his laser light show charts posted on Twitter, I think you should definitely tune in when we get to that. But as I digress, I just wanted to circle back to that. So before we get too far past the current events in the news, I know the AVAX and the Avalanche news was a pretty big deal. But being a Bitcoiner, I am not terribly fluent in AVAX, and I happen to know that my co-host Pepe is one of the biggest AVAX proponents that I know, and wouldn't have found his way to the Voyager platform had it not been for looking for a place to buy Avalanche. So, Pep, would you mind giving us kind of a deep dive on what exactly AVAX is, what it does, what this partnership or this relationship can expand the capabilities of Voyager to do? For those of us that are starting from zero, because I have a depth of knowledge of non-existent on AVAX. I understand that this is good, and I knew you'd be excited about it, but teach us, friend.
Absolutely. It's, there's a lot to it, so it's not a simple, but yeah, that is how I got it to Voyager. I've been a very big AVAX bull for a long time, bought sub 10, still hold pretty much my entire bag. So when the partnership happened, it was a match made in heaven for me. But AVAX, I think that partnership is getting slept on. People are like, that's cool, AVAX, yeah, but they don't understand the ecosystem. It's the easiest way is, it's an ecosystem like ETH almost, but it's a seamless, essentially free transactory ecosystem that within it, the biggest thing for Voyager, I'm a big NFT guy as well. It's going to be able to bring in an NFT marketplace, huge. I mean, you see CoinBase is doing it, but that is going to be huge. But the thing I'm most bullish on with that is staking pools and, the creativity you can get with DeFi. So within that, I mean, staking pools, there's a lot of different types, but there's ones where you could do VGX USD. So you could do 50% VGX, 50% USD. As VGX rises, it'll sell off some of the VGX and then move it to USD to keep like a 50-50 ratio or whatever the ratio is chosen, things like that. And within staking pools, it offers the ability for lending because you can use the money in these staking pools to lend. So the options with AVAX, I mean, it really is a game changer. They have their DeFi or DEXs, their decentralized exchanges and things along that line, but their staking pools offer, like, we already get very good interest, so it's almost greedy to say more, but you can get significant returns on staking pools, and it'd be more of your traditional lockup style, but it just offers even so much more on top of the equities that are coming. So staying on staking pools, it will offer the ability to earn profit while earning interest on these staking pools and offer interest-free lending. That's kind of down the rabbit hole, so there's no guarantee that specifically comes to lending, but I know Steve has talked on it before. But everything that comes with DeFi is, I mean, we're still super early on, but it offers a lot for what Voyager can do. And also gives AVAX, which it's taken off now, but it offers them a true user base that boosts their platform. But we're still not sure exactly what's coming with it, but just to be able to have better interest staking pools, pure staking on top of NFT Marketplace already is super huge. That's kind of the brief explanation I can do. If you want me to touch on anything specific with that, I can. But yeah, I would essentially say it's a more efficient ETH to say at this point. It's not as established and developed, and these platforms that are getting built on it, almost like how ADA has an ecosystem. They have a full ecosystem of hundreds of different things being built on them, but it also, on top of that, is easier on the more of a parachain side, so it works really well with other ecosystems, so it's not as one-dimensional as ETH on purely ETH ecosystem. It is more of a seamless transition between ecosystems, so it offers a lot. And I would definitely say check out their website, kind of look at it, and I think you'll be blown away by how much they offer.
So currently, as an AVAX holder, is AVAX a yield-bearing asset on Voyager, and is it one that's available for transfer in and out? Like, what do you do with yours? Do you keep it on platform, or you mentioned staking pools prior to this relationship? Were you participating in them elsewhere?
So both. I stake through AVAX actual their ecosystem, but I also hold a good bit on Voyager. So you can stake through AVAX for 11% interest, and we do not have interest on Voyager yet, but it's absolutely 100% coming without a doubt. And transfers is not an option on Voyager as of the last time I checked, which was a little over a week ago. But that will all come in due time with it getting filled out, the partnership. But Stone Cold.
Yeah, so you're talking about how it's a more efficient ETH. Are there any other tokens that are kind of competitors to AVAX that kind of do similar, if not the same, functions?
I would say Sol and ADA. I mean, there's similar comparisons. They're all a similar fashion. They're all kind of an ETH competitor that, you know, they all have different unique benefits and flaws, but I would compare it most to Sol or ADA, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big AVAX guy. Steve, that's one of his favorite coins. I think that partnership it's going to be a lot better for the platform than even people think on just the pure NFT side. It's going to offer a lot for Voyager holders and people just on the app in general. So I think that's something we should be a lot more excited about than, you know, we kind of originally were. But I would definitely say look into it, and I can get deeper. If somebody has any questions, feel free to DM me. But yeah, go ahead, Songul.
If no one wants to jump up, I'll continue. Do we have any sort of guesses as to when we might see transfers for AVAX or the yield interest coming? They're just holding it on Voyager, or is it just completely up in the air until we get more info?
I'd say up in the air, but I also would say it's not that difficult to implement once it's kind of being worked on and put into place. So I don't see it taking that long. You know, I would say optimistically into Q1, maybe.
So soon?
Soon. How are you, Evie? I see you hopped up here.
Hey, how are you, Pepe?
Doing well, my
Heavy,
friend.
by the way.
Sorry, you know, words. I'm not good at the old English thing.
I know.
How about we just say hello to our new Sydney Bristow, our newly reminted hero.
I was about to say that profile pic's sick.
Or just call him PP instead.
Oh my God, the iterations of Pepe kill me. Pepe, Pepe, it's funny.
I'll accept it all.
I love it. I like Pep. Pep's my favorite. So Pep, can you comment more about, you were talking about the like interoperability of like the ecosystem. Does that mean, like, I heard something about the future of these, you know, blockchains is that they'll talk to each other a lot more than they do now. Is that what you kind of mean? Like that, so AVAX can talk to Cardano or DOT or this or that, like more smoothly. Like right now, there's not really bridges and ways to communicate within the different chains themselves.
Yeah, so AVAX, for example, like Aave is built on Ethereum, but you can get in staking pools in the AVAX ecosystem in Aave, even though it's a Ethereum-based dApp. And it's interconnectivity to, you know, Sushi Swap. It's not, so for example, like BNB, it's very one-dimensional. It only works with BNB specific ecosystems. When all the uber shit coins that were coming up, and everybody was having to do like three-way swaps just to buy these, AVAX is a one-stop. So you go into the AVAX ecosystem, and through that you can use these different dApps and DEXs to swap. Does that kind of answer your question? It's just a very versatile ecosystem.
Yeah, that sounds like what I was asking.
Yeah, so it's a very versatile system that it works well with dApps and DEXs and things that are built on other blockchains. It works efficiently with them without having to do the step of getting a specific BNB, for example, to buy a specific coin. You can go to PancakeSwap, Uniswap, all these other swaps that are built for one, but it works with them. Like AVAX ecosystem, like smoothly works with other blockchains. Yeah.
Cool. What about their NFT marketplace? Is that like up and running, or is that something that's coming down the line?
Yeah, you can buy AVAX NFTs. They have I think 6 NFT marketplaces. I think they have GameSwap, Nifty, AVMe, AVAX Stars. Yeah, I believe there's I know there's more that I'm missing, but yeah, they have several NFT marketplaces.
Cool. I've heard of the Nifty one, but all the rest are new. I didn't realize that was on Avalanche actually.
Yeah, Nifty is the one where what are they called? The AVAX, their main NFT that blew up. I forgot. It was the first one. It was on Nifty. The not AVAX Bear. I went blank. But yeah, no, they already have operational NFTs, and it's a non-gas fee, or essentially rounded to zero, non-gas fee NFT. Yes, Michael.
So quickly looking at the network itself, so I'm seeing that it's not proof of work or proof of stake, but the consensus mechanism is its own directed acyclic graph. And having never heard of that, the one word that jumps out at me is graph. So is this similar to the graph project or like HBAR in terms of consensus? Or I see that one of its biggest draws is that it's trying to solve the trilemma in a unique way. But what exactly goes into this consensus mechanism? I'm trying to gauge the level of decentralization or how it achieves consensus and where the concentration of either validators or token holders might lie.
Yeah, it's getting a bit deeper than, but trying to think the easiest way. So I'm not as fluent on, as you coming from the Bitcoin side on like pure breakdowns. I'm not as efficient on that side. So that's something I'd have to get back to you to give like a more sophisticated answer on, because I don't want to misspeak on it.
No, that's okay. I wasn't trying to stump you. I didn't know, like, proof of work, proof of stake, those are pretty intuitive at this point, but this directed acyclic graph just jumped out at me as something new. If anybody else in the audience knows too, feel free to hop up.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't want to misspeak on, because it's like I have slight knowledge, but not nearly enough to want to speak on it.
All right, Aldo, I saw you popped up. You got a question related to AVAX?
Not AVAX, but I had 2 questions. So I can
go for it.
Okay, my first question had to do with transfers. Specifically with DOT, is there any plans, or are there any plans in the future for allowing transfers for DOT in and out? Because I have DOT that I'm holding on Voyager, and I also have DOT in another place that I'm that I would like to transfer to Voyager. And I'll just put that out there, and then I'll ask my second question after you guys.
So we can't speak on their behalf, but I would assume so. And I have seen like crosstalk on Twitter where it was alluded to that it was on the roadmap. It was something that would happen. God forbid I say the word soon out loud. So I don't know. We can't really speak for them or with any kind of certainty, but I would expect it to be, especially now with like DOT's getting ready to really hit full speed here with parachain auctions and stuff like that. So I would anticipate that if they don't enable transfers in and out, the drumbeat from the Twitter trolls is going to get pretty loud, and it's probably something that'll get a response sooner rather than later.
Yeah, as it's Stone Cold. Just a second. As a layer 1 parachain, it's kind of what it's, its specialty is working with other blockchains and being versatile. I would say it, absolutely should come. But Stone Cold.
Yeah, I got a question for Aldo. So, what reasons would you be looking to transfer DOT off of Voyager? Is there a better yield opportunity, or is there something else that you would be looking?
Actually, I was looking to move it off as Celsius onto Voyager because I had acquired it before I became. I've had DOT for a while, so I have it on Celsius, and I was looking to move it from Celsius to Voyager. My second question was, are there any talks about the VLP and adding different tiers to it, specifically in terms of like in between the first and the second tier, because I'm kind of in that middle ground where like I have more than the 500, but not enough yet to get to the next level, and I'm DCAing, but I was just wondering if there's any talks about that. So that was my second question.
I'll say absolutely. It's, you know, in the talks, it's just finding the sweet balance. And I'm someone in this similar situation. I'm in between the 5,000 to 20,000, and that's just like a black hole of endless DCAing. But anybody has any input on that?
I think Steve's mentioned it a couple of times and alluded it as, you know, something that's going to be going on in the future. I mean, obviously, every day in crypto feels like a month and a half to two, you know, and then you realize that, you know, we're still pretty fairly fresh into the first rollout of the VLP. So I have to assume that they're going to be doing a little bit of due diligence on their end to, you know, see what's working and what's not working, and, you know, they'll make adjustments accordingly. But I know that Steve has mentioned it at least a couple of times, like on video, that there's, you know, they'll be looking at tiers.
Yeah, just to speculate, I imagine there's going to be something a little bit lower than the 500 and maybe another tier around like 10 or 12, 13K. And who knows about a whale tier after that. But that's all just speculation. There's no real concrete evidence to support any of that besides just talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Stone Cold.
Yeah, I was going to say, you also, I think it was Tim Watley on Twitter that had screenshots, you know, from whatever iPhone app developer where they had a Navigator tier, which I'm assuming is going to be, you know, even higher than what's currently out there. I'm sorry, not Navigator, Voyager tier.
Interesting. Go ahead, Felix.
Yeah, so that was, basically somebody got into like the dev files that are kind of patiently waiting in the back of an update file. But to what extent any of those are actually rolled out, they might be placeholders, they might be real, they might not. They might be red herrings just to shut everybody up for a bit. So I wouldn't take any of that as fact yet. I would say factually what we can attest to is, you know, Steve has alluded to analyzing the tiers and possibly introducing new tiers. He's expressed a direct interest in making sure that the VLP is accessible to everybody. So in my mind, that leads to a likelihood of maybe a lower tier or something that makes sure that everybody can participate at the entry level. But I don't know, you know, when in one of the earlier iterations of the VLP, the top tier was called the Voyager tier. And then we got these new names where we ended up with Navigator being the top tier. So we don't really have specificity as to whether or not they would intend to use that Voyager term again. I know that was in those Watley files that were shared, but to me, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it could be cool that, you know, that if you attain that top tier, you are a Voyager in the Voyager company. But then it also is somewhat limiting because it precludes them from being able to refer to all of their customers as Voyagers. And as they've become more active on social media, they tend to now refer to all of us customers as Voyagers. So I'm not so sure. I would think that the reason why they deviated away from that term for the top tier was that they could refer to all their customers kind of as one title. And I think reintroducing that, while it would make some of the whales happy, would probably just exclude a large portion of their constituency. But Aragorn, I see you got your hand raised. What you got, bud?
Of course, I just want to issue just a fair word of warning on how much we take people's deep diving seriously, because to speak to the Telegram find specifically, like the person that just checked again, all of that info was now not viewable. So who knows, it might have been Voyager hiding something. It also might have been them realizing they had old files or whatever there. So, I mean, we literally just don't know. And so as such, it could be one way, could be another. We just don't know. So all we know is they want to look at data. They don't want to go switching around the VLP. And then when they expand internationally, then they'll have so many more questions by new customers that were trying to load up like for a certain amount. So I can see both sides of it. I can see them wanting to delay it a bit until they get everyone kind of in the house. But I also see them trying to satisfy current customers. And so there's no one right answer to all of this. So.
All right, Pablo, I think you had your hand up. Or Ross, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, real quick, I just wanted to go back. Stone Cold had a question regarding what the benefits are as far as moving DOT off the platform. With these parachain auctions, there's opportunities for people to stake their DOT, sometimes as little as 5 DOT, and that also benefits them with potential airdrops of those parachain bidders. And so essentially, it might not be a direct yield in the form of DOT, but especially if you really like a project that is bidding on some of those parachains, then it's an opportunity to get in on some of those early projects.
Thank you. Yeah, great insight. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, thanks to everybody that's hopping up here, trying to catch up. Who was next? Was it Felix?
I think we had
Pablo or Pablo.
Pablo and then Felix, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Pablo.
Hey, what's up, guys? Just wanted to say hi. I literally snuck this in as I'm waiting in the valet for dinner reservations, and my wife and kids are in the restaurant. So I just wanted to say what's up. I wish I could stay longer and listen, but what are the question I wanted to ask the panel is, do you see a situation, because a lot of the people that I bring on are new to crypto, they're newbies, they have no idea about yield or the crypto space in general, and I just try to educate them as best as I can. But do you guys ever see a situation in where they would come up, do away with yield in crypto at all and make it a perk of being, let's say, a Voyager tier where it's 100 VGX to qualify? Do you see a situation like that?
I personally haven't even thought of that. That's an interesting point. I think it'd be a tough sell, but I mean, I couldn't rule it out. But I think they want to be as user friendly as possible. So I would say they probably aren't going to go the route of forcing Voyager on people.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. I've seen it suggested plenty, and it's definitely a clever thought exercise. But I don't think, at least in the short term, that it's realistic, because I don't think they want to be exclusive in that regard. Maybe in the future, like the way I kind of think of it is, if you look at PayPal in the early days had a money market option where if you put your balance with PayPal in a money market account, you could earn up to like 4% yield, and it was like blowing savings accounts out of the water. But over time, it eventually, everything kind of trends to the mean, and it reverted to basically akin to what savings accounts were. It's the same kind of just bullshit non-number. So if in time, and I'm talking years, I'm not saying like overnight yield's going to just disappear in crypto, but if in the future things started to reach equilibrium and they needed to incentivize people in this like system where you either pay to play or you don't, that could maybe be the way that they delineate that. But I don't think we're realistically talking about anything in the near term.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if they created even if it was like a 75 BGX minimum to hold, I know they said that they wanted to make BGX token the central part of their ecosystem. Like, you could throw a $20 price tag on $75, $25, $30 on a 75 to get that yield, and it would still be affordable for everybody. It would be a way to reward all the early term investors. I don't think you're excluding anybody. And like I said, a lot of the people that I get into that are new at crypto don't even know what the hell yield is. So if they're like, hey, in this, I guess would parlay into their education program, right? And educate them about the BLP program. I mean, I think there's just a lot of room to run when you create like an entry level VGX, let's call it Voyager, for 50, 75 VGX. I mean, that would, if we got 100% of the people to use it, that would be awesome. So that was just my thought. I just want to see if you guys thought that there would be a scenario.
No, I agree that it would be awesome to get everybody to participate. I think that realistically, I would bet pretty confidently that nothing like that would happen until they start to see how some of their peers fare with the three-letter agencies. Because if you start to essentially make it where you're not going to earn yield unless you own this in-house token, then you start to really pick apart the different pieces of the Howey test. and you get into that, if you own this, there's an expectation of profit based on actions of other people. The Howey test is super just shitty. It's messy. It's not really apt to be applied to modern technology or how things go today. But I think that you may run into some securitization issues if you were to roll that out before you see exactly where they draw some of the lines in the sand that they're trying to draw.
Yeah, absolutely. But even just a thought, if it was just 5 VGX tokens, we have a million people on funded accounts. That's already 5 million. We get to theoretically, I think it's inevitable, 10 million accounts. I mean, that's a lot of tokens right there. So a small amount could do wonders. But that's a good thought. But yeah, definitely lean towards not in the near term and definitely waiting for regulatory. Go ahead, Stone Cold, then we'll go to you, Felix.
Hey, just to piggyback off that, so outside of security, I think onboarding new customers has been, the drum that Steve has been beating. So anything that kind of prohibits adding new customers to the platform, they would shy away from. So I would kind of solicit that you don't get any interest if you don't hold 5 VGX tokens, but maybe instead of 12% DOT, you get 10%. If you want that extra 2%, like you're doing with the Bitcoin, ETH, and USDC, then you hold, 20 VGX tokens to unlock the full amount.
True, that's a good thought. But we roll with you, Felix. Sorry to keep you waiting, my friend.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Being patient here. Actually, let me respond to Stone Cold. I think that's a great idea, especially if you consider what Michael said, is that interest rates always usually go down, after the introductory phase. So as it's going down, as you make the changes, you can then add that in. That would be a good opportunity to do that, as opposed to just doing it out of nowhere. But actually, the reason why I raised my hand is because I actually had kind of looked into the AVAX protocol a while back, even before how this went. So it's actually pretty easy to find all the info. If you just go to docs.avax.network, it actually has a good graphic on how the Avalanche consensus works. And it even has the algorithm, and it has a good explanation on how, they base it off some of the classical and Nakamoto protocols and stuff like that. Nakamoto, sorry. So it's good to kind of review. So if anyone is really interested in getting that deep dive, they have the algorithm there also on that site. It's docs.avax.network.
Yeah, their website's fantastic.
It is.
Their ecosystem, it's a easy, whatever you're looking for, there's a bunch of different buttons. So it's a super user-friendly website. I'd definitely say check it out. But yeah, great conversation. Haven't even got to many of our points yet. But Piggy, if you want to kind of touch on time frame and charting and what each time frame is best for, if you want to kind of get in that.
Sure. I mean, the reason I think we bring this up is a lot of the time, I'm guilty of it as much as anybody else. I would say is that you have these long-term ideals. I would imagine that most of you have some sort of goal with VGX, and if you don't, I would suggest you figure one out. You write it down, and then I'm sorry, but it's just the constant chasing a 5-minute chart isn't going to do anything but make you crazy. And trust me, I know. But start looking more long frame. I mean, we've all had these targets since I don't know, whenever Dan started going with $30. Sorry, Rob from Digital News Digital Asset News. Geez, but yeah. So you've got this $30 target, and you are sitting there looking at the chart at $2.50. I mean, what are we doing? And believe me, everybody on Twitter is going to tell you when we hit $30. So unless you're trading a position, there's really no reason for you to be looking at short-term time frame. You know, I, I, the lowest I ever go is a 15-minute chart, and that's usually when I'm trying to identify if I'm going to be making a buy that day. You know, if you can see a trend happening, and you can establish that it's likely that the price is going to go lower, then obviously you can wait on that. But again, I think we always preach zooming out, and I think if you have a target in mind that's so I don't know, astronomically higher than where we're at right now, then just throw away the chart. You know, I understand that the app is there to basically provide gamification. We love going in there. We love checking to see that plus, or well, we don't love the minus, but we love seeing the plus, the percentage, and what things are going up, and it's addicting. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't be your goal. You should have a price target. I don't care if it's $10. I don't care if it's 12. I don't care if it's 30. I think somebody told us we were going to 500 by August of next year, so that'll be great. But have your target, have your price. You know, and if you're not trading and you could set up your limit orders, right? Because then you don't ever have to worry about blaming Voyager for that, you know, $1,000 you lost because the app crashed. You know, you've got that price set up, and it's in the system for, you know, to hit at any point. If you're sleeping and it hits that price, you know, it's going to hit, and you're going to have your strategy. But I think a lot of the time we're so focused about, and I think a lot of it has to do with frustration and panic and, you know, missing moves on other coins because, you know, we've obviously been in a downtrend, and I think we're getting out of that downtrend. And I, you know, saw it for the first time a couple of days back. And then obviously today we got some weird outside of Voyager news that kind of put the market down a little bit. And I think we're going to reverse. If you guys noticed, or you probably didn't, depending on how actively you stare at the charts, Voyager held up really well today compared to some other cryptos, like significantly better. So, and when I'm also starting to look for trend reversals, I pay attention on these days where the market takes a dump, and I will take a look at the coins that are holding up the best, and I will consider, you know, making a small swing into that position. You know, Nervous Network was obviously a big pump today, and then they got hit with the news a little bit too. But you know, you should really kind of pay attention to those things more so than worrying about what the price on the daily candle is if you're not planning to sell until we hit $10. And that's okay if you want to sell some at $10. I preach and I encourage everybody to have their own plan, and then you don't really have to worry about price action, right? You can just let it go. You've got your sell. You can sleep easy, and I promise you, you know, if you're following any number of VGX heroes on Twitter, we'll let you know when the price is pumping. But I wouldn't worry about it. So have a plan.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right, Piggy. So there's so many places that I want to go with this topic. So maybe we can just delve into a few minutes of like some free form back and forth, just dialogue. So I think that you hit the nail on the head that some folks have some long-term plans for what they're doing with their investment and get too hyper fixated on too short term of a chart. And it plays tricks on their head, and then they become, you know, potentially toxic for other folks in the space, and then it becomes counterintuitive because they start working against their own investment because now they have propagated their fear into the heads of a dozen other people, who then propagated into the heads of a dozen other people, and then it becomes this just kind of tailspin. But there are a couple things that I think of in terms of time frame. You know, one, if you're thinking a long-term investment, don't sit there and refresh a 1-minute chart. I think we pretty much covered that just now pretty well. But there are also there's the other side of that equation, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit more when we pass things over to Floki, because we've been really wanting to hit this investor versus trader discussion, kind of have a little bit of a talk there. But to not kind of undercut that too much, if you are swing trading, or if you are looking for a reversal, when are the times that it is advantageous to look at charts on a shorter time frame? Like, I look at it coming from the options side of the world, right, in the equities markets. So if I am looking to time a move on weekly options that expire Friday, or monthly options that expire in the next 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, versus timing leaps or something that's going to run until, you know, several months into the future, if not next year, that to me will change the time frame that I'll set on my chart to target different moves. And you know, if my indicators are stochastics or RSI or CCI or whatever the case may be, I will adjust my thesis for what time I think it's going to take for this move to play out based on the indicators that are jumping out on me on a certain time frame chart. So tell me, does that kind of speak to you at all? Do you time things similarly? Like if you're looking to make a 1 to 2 week move, do you look at a certain time frame chart, or are you trading even on the daily? If you're trading on a daily basis, in or out, is there a certain time frame that you look for on a chart?
So I like I said, for me, for a couple of things, I will do a progression of looking, you know, first I'll look at the 15-minute chart just because I think that's a nice short-term kind of trend to analyze. And then I will go to the 1 hour, and then I will usually go to the 4 hour, and then I will usually go to the day. And that will give me kind of enough of a thesis in terms of whether or not, you know, things are looking right, or, you know, I should just lay off the move. That's where my laser light show charts help me out the most, is because those it's a roadmap, right? I mean, what it is it's allowing me, based off of some weird geometrical patterns, to be able to see potential spots where a price trend might change. And if you ever want to hop into the charting section of the Discord, I can try to explain what I see, you know, on my charts. I mean, Michael's chart for the stock is awesome. And what's crazy is mine, I have a chart. I don't even own the stock, not because I don't want to, but I don't know. I'm too crypto focused. But you know, my chart is similar to Michael's, and it works for me. But it's not the same as his, right? So you can set it up in different ways, and basically, you know, I preach my charts as a roadmap because it's not going to predict every move. That would be impossible. It would literally be nothing but lines. But I can use that chart, and I can use specific time frames to figure out how much space is left in a certain move that I predict in a certain move, and, you know, use 2, 3, 4 different time frames when doing, you know, I don't know, a daily trade or a weekly trade. But honestly, if you don't do it a lot and you're trying to establish the process, I wouldn't go past, you know, I wouldn't go a shorter time frame than like a 4 hour chart.
All right, and that's for like establishing the position, and I think that's good for like timing your entry. Stone Cold, sorry, I see your hand up. I just wanted to maintain continuity here a minute. So if that's for establishing a position, that's one thing. I think if you are established in a long-term position, do you do the same thing? Do you run the gamut of running the time frame up from, you know, 15 minutes to an hour to 4 hours to daily, or do you just refer to one time frame if you are established in the position and it's a long-term hold?
I mean, you know, VGX is its own special case because I'm a crazy person. But no, I mean, in most of my charting, it's the daily time frame is about as far as I want to go. But like, the difference between VGX obviously is once the VLP happened, the chart switched over. You know, there's that weird hack where you can get the full chart with the VGX USDT tether. You know, but if you look at that price hasn't moved from $2.50 since this morning. You know, so it's not giving you the real time, and it's giving you those weird candles that are split and just look awkward. So, but yeah, with most of my other holdings, I wouldn't go any further zoomed in than the daily.
Good. I would agree. I was curious where you stood on it. My 2 cents is I don't look at the daily unless I'm doing a short-term swing, or I don't look at anything but the daily unless I'm doing a short-term swing. And if it's a long-term hold, I would go the other way. I'd start at the daily and go up to the weekly and the monthly if I'm trying to time like greater macro moves with respect to the entirety of the bull run or something along those lines. But to me, unless it's a short-term swing trade, anything less than the daily is irrelevant unless I'm trying to just nail an entry or nail an exit. But if I'm already in a position, I'm not wasting my time looking at the 15-minute charts. Stone Cold, sorry, it took a bit, but what you got?
No worries. Yeah, thanks to CDP and yourself. Your charts are way over my head, but the chart section of the Discord is quickly becoming my favorite. The question I had for CDP was, so in the event where we had the VGX 2.0 come out and the chart was kind of spliced, so you couldn't get the full picture, or when you have a new token come out, are you going to rely, if you only have a 15-hour, 4-hour chart, are you going to rely on that, or are you kind of staying away and just relying on fundamentals and just steering clear unless you have some sort of better entry?
Yeah, that's really tough, and I would probably, I almost would, if we're gonna, I forget already what the new coin that was added is called. Forgive me, but it's weird because you get the new chart on Voyager and it's only for so long, and I mean, some of these coins have a history, prior to Voyager, and you can go to another exchange's version of the chart and you'll have a varying degree of history based off of how long it was on that exchange. Or so there's some due diligence you can do there, and I can apply my charting strategy to shorter time frames, and that's kind of what I did when the new chart came out. I was forced to, because there wasn't enough data points to establish a lot of the the way I prefer to do my chart. You can, but the cool thing about my chart is that I can basically dissect it into fourths and add another box on it to get a shorter time frame. If because obviously the 50, if you could drop down to a 15-minute chart, the candles are going to be shorter, right? So there's ways to get around it, but personally, I think I would almost just, not financial advice, but if I'm confident in a coin getting listed and don't have a lot of data on it, I'm just going to buy my bag. Maybe I'll wait to kind of see what a little bit of the activity is. I mean, I remember, and shame on me, but I remember when the coin this coin stock went out, and you have that major pump and then it dumps, and then you didn't have the data on it, right? But it's really personal preference at that point. But if I believe in a coin and it's getting listed, and then I'm going to buy my bag knowing where I expect price to go and not really worry about where it's starting.
Yeah, good talk. Bouncing off that, if Floki, you want to kind of get into your topic, since we've touched on it a good bit.
Yeah, I want to lean on the audience and you guys to help me get all these details out. I'm a bit tired, but I'm just going to go for it here. This is more along the lines of just making sure that everyone's mental health is good, right? This relates to everyone having their own risk assessment. It aligns with everyone being on their own crypto journey, and that we all need to respect each other's stance. And it just boils down to investors versus traders. That war needs to end, especially around the VGX realm. There is no reason whatsoever that anybody should be afraid to tell us, the community, that they sold VGX. We're all here to buy and sell to better our lives, and we need to celebrate that. I had a couple of things kind of just I jotted down, but essentially, what do we all have in common? And that's the VGX VLP, right? Traders are getting benefits for holding that 500, that lowest VLP tier. So in that sense, to push the investors to sort of chill out on the traders, that these traders, they're all going to hold 500 VGX to utilize the benefit of trading all the coins, not just VGX, right? Yeah. And so basically, we want people to trade. That will create a narrative and incentive for new customers to come in and just straight up ape in to the lowest VLP tier. So I really hope that we don't see a lot of this happening where people are attacking traders and jumping to the conclusion that it's a bad thing. We don't want, as investors, them taking it personally that people are trading. It's one thing to bash and demean the coin or the company as you take your exit. I'm not down with that. I don't support that. If you want to give them the axe, go for it. But for people that say, hey, like, I'm doing this to either hope for a wash trade, or I'm going to get a new whatever this, I'm going to get that, I'm going to improve my life, like, we should really celebrate them. And on the flip side, for traders, right, it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort to do so successfully, for the most part. I suggest that those that are interested in learning, join our Discord, check out the charting channel, talk to these amazingly smart people. But let's not let missed prices create emotional distress and a fight between these investors and these traders, right? People are investing long-term for their family, for their kids, college education, generational wealth. It is not right to fuck with that. Do not create this emotional distress because you're having a hard time trading, and it'll affect other people. I think, Michael, you said it way more elegantly than I did, but that's essentially the gist of it. I just want to challenge everybody to just sort of, if you see that kind of stuff going on, just challenge it. It helps all of us if we're all on the same page, traders and investors, so much more. There's nothing that we can get out of this if we're just fighting each other. That was essentially it in a nutshell. I'm rambling a bit. I'd love some help here in terms of what I'm talking about generally from the audience and the panel.
Yeah, and I would say too, unless somebody that's going to be critical of you is going to help you to pay your bills or to help you to financially, mitigate whatever your decision was, pay them no peace of mind, because the same folks that are the loudest on Twitter that are crucifying anybody that's ever sold even a single VGX are also, without telling you, swing trading the shit out of the exact same asset. So let's just call a spade a spade. And let's ignore the hypocrites and the trolls and the noise. If selling is the best move for you, then sell. If buying more is the best move for you, then buy more. If you're doing the best that you can with the best of intentions, then by all means do it. It's a free world. Don't ever change your investment thesis based on what somebody else has said. If you take on new information and it changes your ultimate conviction in the play, then by all means make your own decision and change your strategy. But for Christ's sake, don't listen to somebody that's just bullying you into not selling just because the community doesn't want you to sell. Or that's the most hypocritical bullshit that I really can't stand when it comes to the tribal, community mentality. And I love our community, but there are some corners of it where people get pretty dark because somebody may have one time sold something that those same hypocrites sell just under the cover of darkness and they don't tell you about it. Or they're really super brazen in their being hypocrites, and they will brag about their swing trade after the fact. In the meantime, they crucified you the entire time for having sold. So I would say do what is best for you at all times. I agree with Floki that if on your way out the door you decide to drag your ass on the carpet, then you're going to get what's coming to you. But if you sell because it's an informed decision that you made and that's what you want to do, then go with God, man. Do what's best for you. Nobody should be criticizing that one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And nobody knows your situation like yourself. So there should be no reason for you to ever feel bad about selling and some person you don't know that's never talked to you criticize you, because nobody knows your situation. I mean, you need money sometimes, and that's cool. Always do what's best for you. Gains aren't realized till you sell. So absolutely keep that in mind. But let's get to Kronos, then we'll get back to you, Felix.
Hey guys, how you doing today? Hey, I see that Six Fig is here. I started listening to you, dude. About a couple weeks ago. Great information that you have on your channel. Thank you very much. For one, two. A long time ago, we were in a meeting like this, and Steve hopped on when he was in Europe, and we collectively asked, what can we do to make his job easier? And I think what Floki was saying a few minutes ago is a conscientious effort to once, twice, 3 times a day, doesn't really matter, saying something positive. For instance, DJ has been on fire on Twitter lately, being pretty positive about most things and so on. So I think that's the information that we can do, for one, on the social media space. Second, I've gone into various restaurants, right? So you get to know the waiters and waitresses and so on, and the ones that I get to know, it's like I ask them, hey, you have a savings account? And they're like, well, yeah. I says, well, do you make any interest? They typically say not really. So then I tell them about the USDC, and I tell them, look, USDC, you have virtually zero risk in my mind, in my opinion, and it's about crypto. And I explain to them how it's tied into the USDC. And then if you want to learn a little bit more, I'm more than happy to sit with them at any time. I give you my number, and some of them take it, some of them don't. But those are the little things that we can do from a social media space, from our personal lives that we go about every single day. And it's really easy to be an asshole. It doesn't take. There's a lot of keyboard cowboys out there, and you know what? It doesn't hurt to be positive, and it makes the experience a little bit nicer. We know what this company is. We know where we're going with it. And we just have to be patient and hang on, because this is about to get real. And that's pretty much what I got, guys. Thank you.
Damn right.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming up here and always saying kind words. Absolutely agree. And even simple things like positivity goes a long way. But, people you get close to, just throw it out there, and it doesn't hurt. I mean, worst they say is no, and it gets the thought in their head. And just kind of piggyback. Just, you ever on Twitter board in the morning, say good morning to somebody, do a positive post. You can really change somebody's day with one simple kind word. So, but appreciate that. But Felix, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually gonna call out to see if Ross is here, because I think he just bounced. And I think it would have been perfect to kind of touch on the psychology of taking profits. Yep, I don't think some folks really understand how healthy it is to just take some profits. Doesn't mean you have to be balling buying a Lambo, but it doesn't matter what asset you're in. It's very important for you to just have that kind of mindset that every once in a while, you're really not, you're not committing a crime by taking profits. You're not hurting yourself by taking some profits, and still maintaining a long-term plan. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to mention that.
Go ahead, Michael.
So with regard to taking profits, the one thing that I see constantly are people that share their pie charts and it's 100% VGX. And as much as I respect that move, I don't know that everybody that's currently in that boat necessarily has the background to understand what it takes to make that conviction, that kind of conviction play. And there's a history in investing of the people that make the most money, the most successful people in the space are the ones that make concentrated bets with high conviction. But you've got to have balls of steel, man, to make that move. And if that's not necessarily what you had when you made that play, and that's your only play, we see a lot of that psychology just playing out in real time, where everybody feels like the market's just leaving them behind. So I would just advocate a little bit of diversification might go a long way for any of the folks that are struggling with holding that 100% in one asset. Or if not, if you have 100% in one asset, I'm not saying that's the wrong move, but understand that not everything runs at the same time. There's a couple little things, and Felix is right. Ross would be the better person to speak to this, and he has spoken on past spaces for anybody that wants to run it back. But we've been updating our resources a bit too on the Discord. Some of them will have some of the psych background resources that Ross has provided. So be sure to check there as far as making sure that you've calculated your risk tolerance and that it is tailored to the investments that you've actually put yourself into.
Absolutely. And it's never a bad thing if, it's a bad day to just step away, just tell yourself, I'm not opening the app, things like that. Like, as addicting as it is, it's not always the worst thing to just stop looking at it as much, or just kind of like take time away. It can really help your mental state. But any more on that before we move on to the next topic?
No, we got Sri down there as a speaker. What you got, bud?
Nothing. I mean, I was just kind of wanted to double down on what was said earlier, about the positivity. Even I start my day looking at some of the good morning messages and memes, and they give me a chuckle, especially Daddy Pigs and Pepe's, and I think that goes a long way. I agree.
Yeah, appreciate that, and that thank you. That's why I do it. I know that's why CDP does it. We genuinely like making people happy. We want people's day to start off the best. We want people to feel good. Too much negativity in the world. Just making the world a better place, one GM, one shit post at a time.
And you got gifs for everything, man. Every occasion.
Everybody's catching up to me, man. CDP and Maximus, everybody's getting heavy in the Pepe game. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of bring it full circle here. I had a bit of a heavy heart the past couple of days, thinking about, I could have done more to create more strength and conviction throughout the community. I know I can't save everybody. We can't save everybody, but I felt like I could have done more to create more strength and more people to hold and for a better future. So I encourage you guys to occasionally just get out there and create positive sentiment, because maybe you'll wake up one day like me and it's like, man, it hurts to see my community hurting. I wish I would have done more. So get out there, be positive. And on the flip side of that, when your positivity is being challenged by evil, negative people, it's very emotionally taxing for some people. And if you find yourself dwelling on some asshole's response to your celebration post and really not knowing what to say, or not knowing what the right move is, you could always tap any of us on the shoulder. I'm a fanatic Viking for a reason. If I can get confrontational at times, I could be funny at times, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just here to support you guys, and I want to make sure that you guys aren't wasting your time on things that don't feel rewarding to you. So if fighting the FUD and challenging negative people isn't your thing, don't do it. And just tap us on the shoulder and ask for help, or just to vent, even if you don't want us to confront them. That's all fine. We're here to support you guys, and I don't want to see pain for my community. Period. I'm right now, I'll just disclose that I am an investor. I am not a trader, because I'm not going to risk my initial investment. I'm going to play with house money once I have profit. Once I have profit, oh boy, Piggy, I'm going to be knocking on your door a lot, because I want to trade and I want to have a good time doing it. So that's all I wanted to say. I'll wrap that up and hand it off whoever wants to speak.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
It's me.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and thanks for what you just said, Loki. I think it goes a long way. And one thing I just want to add is, it's sometimes it's very difficult to kind of comprehend messages that we have, because it's easy to misunderstand. It's easy to messages can be easily looked at in different ways. So of course, certain people I'd say very easy to kind of make out. Certain people, it's just how we understand what they put in. Just keep that thought in mind, when we're making that decisions, because it's end of the day, a sentence can be looked at in different ways. A tweet can be looked at in different ways. Yeah.
Definitely. So I appreciate that.
Oh, real quick, and if you guys see me go off the rails, please just let me know, because yeah, I need to lean on you guys. We should all lean on each other. If we see each other doing something inappropriate, let us know. Like, that's not where my heart or intent is ever. So that's it.
I would also add to that real quick, and we should have each other's back. If you see somebody getting ganged upon, or someone, something that's not right, doesn't feel right, even if it's coming from another hero, maybe if you don't want to take it out on Twitter, just screenshot it, send to Discord, DM, another hero that you trust. And the one thing that I will guarantee is that we'll discuss it, and it'll be handled as a community. It won't be some hammer coming down from, one or two people. And we'll move forward, and we'll do this together.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because I think there's been this misinterpretation that there's this like cabal at the top that just makes these unilateral decisions. But this is very much a community, for better or for worse, and I think everybody should kind of know transparently how it all operates. And I think that in large part we've made strides towards making sure that people can see that.
And one request is, we should never encourage anything personal. We do a lot of things in fun, and nobody should ever get on anybody on a personal level, at least on Twitter. Even if that person is bashing VGX, I don't think any of us should encourage any one of us doing, getting anybody, going at a personal level.
Definitely so. I don't want to completely switch, but kind of running low on time. There's a topic I really want to hit with Frankie. So CPI and Everglade, a lot of news going on around that. I'd love to kind of get some insight on that.
Thanks, Pepe. Pepe, sorry, it's getting late for me. But yeah, the two big news events today. CPI, if anyone got a chance to listen to Rick Santelli, he gave a 1 minute just comedic relief on the number, 6.2%. Definitely not transitory, to say the least. Highest in 30 years. Now couple that with 0% rates and $120 billion in quantitative easing, and this is where we are. It goes off the back of, I don't know if anyone remembered last month, one of the president's top advisors said that, oh yeah, no, it's everything's fine, don't mostly okay, as long as you exclude basically everything from the food aisle of beef, pork, and poultry, maybe eggs and milk as well. So from my perspective and a couple other people on the panel, like, Bitcoin solves this. Had to get that in there. But kind of anecdotal example, I have family members in the food industry, and they said that they're basically ready to close the shop because everything from meat to cheese to whatever is up 50%. So again, beating the drum, definitely not transitory here. So we'll see. I don't know that, throwing a couple more $1 trillion at the, of stimulus is really going to help, unless, again, you have a hard asset up your sleeve, i.e. Bitcoin. But so on the Evergrande situation, they every basically Evergrande is a Chinese property builder. They just made their coupon payments. They have a 30-day window, and they just made it before they go into default. Basically, if they miss these coupon payments, what happens is in these OTC contracts, over-the-counter contracts, there's a cross default provision. It's a real complex way of saying that if they miss something, the non-defaulting party, their creditors essentially can ask for all their collateral back, and that usually provides a very a rush to a run on the bank, so to speak, where the company will just need to file for Chapter 7. But some of the things that we need to look at from there, we have to look at the contagion kind of liabilities. Currently, they have 300 billion in liabilities on balance sheet, but no one's really looking at people forgot about what happened in 2008, where there was the famous collateralized debt obligation. So these level 3 assets, these off balance sheet liabilities, which probably puts them at 800 billion, probably more. And we really don't know, or nobody knows, who's on the other side of these loans. So, my personal opinion is there's some pretty hefty asset, U.S. based asset managers that are probably deeply invested. I don't care how much dry powder they might have up their sleeves. I think, I think if this shit does hit the fan, I think we might. It's not going to be concentrated to China. Kind of another, looking at it from a game theory perspective, it's weird. Well, not weird, but it's telling that China's come to the table with the U.S. on kind of trying to temper down, the aggression between the two countries. So that just, kind of light bulb went in my head, up in my head that something else is going on. So we'll see. They have the clock restarted. They have another 30 days, but I think it's only going to get worse. So those were the two things. I know they're not really crypto specific, but also very important. I mean, on the CPI thing, if it does help. If you're holding crypto, if you're thinking of it from an inflationary hedge, and going on today's kind of a little bit of a dump from in the crypto market, I don't necessarily believe that it was due to Evergrande. I think more so, individuals taking profits. Probably those, individuals that bought it, 56,000 back in April, May, before the market tanked. But I could be wrong. And I don't know if anyone has any questions on anything that I've just said. Some other news: the Bitmain announced their new Asic miners with 150 terahash. That's somewhere in the order of like 30% more efficient than the next best Bitcoin miner. That's basically what I have on my end. But happy to. I usually work better if people have some questions, and I can respond in kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that great insight, and for kind of some insight on the Chinese housing market. So it's a known problem, because the last time I checked, about a month ago, when the news of Everglade kind of came out, was the average house in China cost 23 times yearly income. And kind of how the situations got to this point of being so bad is developers in China endlessly have been building nonstop. And it's worked very effective to this point since the housing market is just doubling nonstop in China. But what they're doing is just nonstop building in anticipation that future buyers will come in and pay more. So it's been a nonstop building. And I don't know if any of y'all seen the video on Twitter, but Everglade blew down, I think it was 11 just shell like towers. And these towers, they just built them in anticipation that they could build it, and people would lease out these individual units and pay ahead of time, or somebody would come in and just mass buy. But what happened is not supply, but the people buying dried up because the housing market is too expensive. So there's just shell buildings that they can't get built, so they didn't have the funding. The funding dried up to just continuously build these structures. So they're having to blow down towers that they built just the concrete structure, and there's just no walls or interiors. So it's very reminiscent of the Lehman situation, and in a China market that's drastically bigger in the sense of people, it's the domino effect could be very significant. So it's absolutely something to keep an eye on. You can go ahead, Felix.
Yeah, Evergrande is a topic that keeps nudging me in the side. It's something that I pay attention to. From the equity side, and I'm also very heavily into real estate. I'm a landlord in several states, and I even own property internationally in another country. So I've paid attention to it for a while, and it's definitely concerning. There are several American asset holders. The largest, which is BlackRock, which is not what's concerning. It's really everyone below that. There's Lehman, and a couple other shaky, asset firms that have had issues in the past. So the domino effect is really bad. Right now, what everyone's paying attention to is the number 2 and number 3 developers in China. And if they start to shake, that's when things are going to get really bad. If it's just contained to Evergrande, it's going to be bad, but it's not going to be a global ripple effect. But if the domino starts to go, if the moment that happens, the moment you hear from the number 2, number 3 developer, any kind of little issues, if that starts to come out, that means there's probably more dominoes coming.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's very similar in the structure. But one of the other top developers is starting to show signs of default. I can't believe, but I mean it's almost identical. Like they bought a soccer
that came
team
out after the first time. Yeah. I haven't followed up particularly on that. I haven't heard anything, but now that we've heard of this default, today, I'm sure something's gonna come out now.
Yeah, with the eyes all on them, people are going to be paying attention. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and it's interesting because it's just so uncertain. And with how China is, they keep everything under wraps till they can't, and that's when the problems happen, because you just don't know what's the true circumstance is. And the fact that it is getting such attention is very concerning, because if it wasn't that significant of an issue, I don't believe this news would have ever hit the surface. But we got about 25 minutes left, so I'd love to hear from anybody out in the audience who have any questions about anything we talked about tonight, or anything else you would like to hear about, talk on. Feel free to hop up here, but you can go ahead, Frankie.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree with everything that Felix said. It seems like I was I'm old enough to remember the Lehman collapse, and I did some CDO work at a big at a I want to say Final Four accounting firm. So maybe, I mean, I won't be doxing myself here, but I worked at Lehman when it went under, so I'm very familiar with how this story ends. I've said it before. History doesn't have to repeat itself, but it's starting to fucking rhyme in my head. So yeah, and I guess if just thinking about it, the time between Bear Stearns got bought out by J.P. Morgan and Lehman going under, that was like a good 10 months. So we got plenty of time here, folks. So we shall see how this movie ends. And by all means, I hope I'm fucking wrong, like on every level here.
You can go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, if we've still got more on this topic, good. If not, I've got a question for you for the next one.
I think we're good. You want to go ahead?
So there's been a lot of talk in the past couple weeks about the metaverse. So I thought it would only be fair to have a little friendly debate about that topic. So I know that you are pro metaverse and fairly up to speed on it. So I would like to get your take on some of the recent developments, and then I don't know, maybe have a friendly little debate about the topic.
As a proud digital real estate owner, I'm bullish on it. I own some a plot of land on the Decentraland, but I'm very bullish on the sandbox, Mana, that side, Meta. I think that's terrible for everybody. Anybody that participates in Meta, I strongly discourage it, because Facebook already controls enough. But once you introduce Metaverse is when they have access to everything. But I'm pro Metaverse on the sense, I believe crypto gaming and Metaverse is what's going to bring mass adoption to crypto and blockchain technology. Because currently, you have to research and understand inflation and understand why we need to go to a hard asset or a stagnant supply asset. But most people that they have their mindset on crypto, it's hard to change. They're just like, no, I don't want to participate in that. But when you introduce a metaverse where people want to participate for what it offers, like for a easy understanding, I would say it's The Sims, the game, Minecraft, kind of put together, and Roblox. So you have the freedom to build whatever you want to build on your land, and you can have a source of income. So you can build something on your land, and if people have interest in it, you can sell things. You can make pay to entry type things. So it opens up a door for just more income for people, and it's very difficult to explain quickly, but Digital Asset News actually did a pretty good video on it, I believe today or yesterday actually. But I believe it's inevitable. It's just getting in the wrong hands. It's going to mess up a lot, because the metaverse has the ability to control people's lives, because I fully believe in the wrong hands, it'll end up in a situation where people are going to work to fund buying things in the metaverse because they can have a ideal lifestyle in the metaverse. You can't be rich in real life. Just things have to go right for you. You have to make good decisions. But in the metaverse, you work. You can pay to win in a sense, and you can have the ideal lifestyle. You can make your body like you saw in Meta's teaser. You can make yourself skinny. You can make yourself fit. You can do these things. So it incentivizes people to just go on there because it's easy. And we're in a generation where people seek whatever's easiest. So there's strong positives and strong negatives, but I'm very pro in the sense that it introduces blockchain technology to the masses, and it gets their foot in the door to learn more. They're interacting with it, they're involved, so it's an easy transition to start investing in crypto and buying crypto to buy things within. So I think it's what's going to spark mass adoption.
All right, so I appreciate that, and the whole gateway drug is a new angle that I hadn't yet considered. But here's where I want you to either debate me or help me understand it, because I can't connect these dots. What about it requires a blockchain? And this is the Bitcoiner in me just wondering. Blockchain is a killer buzzword if you need to raise capital and if you need to fleece, just willing sheep. Because anybody will throw anything, any amount of money at anything with the name blockchain tied to it. But what about the actual mechanism of running a metaverse is contingent on a blockchain to begin with? That's the disconnect for me that I can't figure out. And I'm hoping that we can have this debate kind of in front of an audience so that people can see that you can respectfully come from two different perspectives and not maybe we find some common ground, maybe we don't. But I don't disagree with your thesis. There are some disconnects for me, and I'm not expecting to convince you to agree with me either, but help me understand what about this benefits from blockchain? Because you named some examples there, like Roblox and Minecraft, and there was another one that you said, but I'm old, and none of these really are English to me. But what about this benefits from it being on a blockchain? Or I think The Sims, you said. So
yeah,
what can't be replicated by existing software, or to the extent, none of them are running on truly decentralized blockchains. To the extent that any of the blockchains that they're running on have some centralization risk, what's the difference between running it on a company and having more efficient things behind them, like the lights and clockwork underneath the hood, being something like a MySQL database or something that's maybe more efficient, more intuitive, but just better suited to perform the task than a blockchain, which is inherently inefficient, but is good at the one thing that it does. I'm not figuring out where this task that's trying to be accomplished is benefited by the blockchain itself, other than the buzzword aspect of maybe it just dumps a shitload of money into the space because it's tied to the buzzword of blockchain.
The simple answer, transparency. So my plot of land I bought on OpenSea, it has coordinates, and you can physically see who the owner is through blockchain. So if you run through a company, you're trusting the company, so you're paying for land through their company. But to prove it, other than theoretically putting a sign on your plot of land, it's going to be a lot harder. Why we like blockchain technology is the transparency. So through Sandbox, Mana, you can go and look up coordinates, and you see the owner, and you can see the wallet. So it takes out the question mark of like, how do you actually own things? Who actually owns what? Do you really even own it, or does the company own the entire thing and you just pay to say you own it? But through blockchain, and when you go truly decentralized, air quotes, like for example Mana, let's stick with that, Decentraland. I could give you the coordinates to my land. You could punch it in on Decentraland, go to my specific land, and clearly see my wallet as the owner.
I think that's a super relevant point. I think that's well put. And Felix, I see you down there. Just one follow-up question, Pep, with regard to that is, okay, it's transparent. That's a benefit. Is there also a risk, though, that if you give some of these chains that, me as a Bitcoiner, I typically don't give the benefit of the doubt of being decentralized, because I think that they all have some type of risk in that part of the trilemma. But if we treat it in a vacuum and we treat them as truly decentralized, is there a risk of someone potentially getting their keys swept and then losing all of their worldly possessions that are now not worldly but exist in a digital world? So, like, here's something that's kind of, I always hear the potential applications of NFTs and of things in the space is like, oh, we're going to replace real estate markets, and your deeds are going to be committed to the blockchain and all these other things. But what happens in the event of from a security perspective, knowing that the lowest common denominator is typically the person participating in the space, and we've tried to address the extent to which they don't take security and things like that seriously. So what happens to your average Joe that doesn't have a great, real life, that goes into the metaverse because you could just spend some type of digital currency to have that perfect life, and to have the house that you can never afford, and the body that you can never keep, and all these other things. What happens if they get their keys swept? At a certain point, are we kind of going from utopian to dystopian?
So it's a tough topic because yeah, absolutely, theoretically you could lose everything. What happens if you have all your Bitcoin in a ledger and it gets exposed and you lose all your Bitcoin? I mean, it's the nature of the beast. I mean, at the same point, I'm not neglecting the risk that Mana doesn't win the metaverse race. Mana has a flaw that somebody makes better, and everybody leaves Mana and goes to that. It's all the risk in the nature of crypto. So it's not foolproof. There's no guarantees. You could absolutely lose your wallet, somebody steal your land. So it's a tough. It's the Wild West, man. That's the easiest way I can say it. But it's a good point. I mean, absolutely, it's possible.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Bitcoin's got the same vulnerability. If you're being completely self-sovereign, I think to me it's not something that's unique to Bitcoin versus shitcoin versus metaverse or NFTs or anything like that. That's to me something that is just part of the process of self-sovereignty. Is when you're taking full responsibility, you no longer have anybody else to blame. So there's no like consumer protection where you have a fraudulent charge on your credit card and you dispute it. If you're taking full sovereignty and full sovereign responsibility for it, then you're responsible for everything. And it's one thing to have that for like monetary assets. It's another to have that for, potentially your house or your things that are some of your key needs in life. So that's where, to me, I don't see in any side of the digital asset world a perfect solution yet in terms of like consumer protection. And I hate to say that word because typically the three-letter agencies that step in for consumer protection or investment protection really are out to do anything but. But it's certainly a concern if people were to be fully invested in a life that is digital and also at the mercy of the lowest common denominator kind of protection methods. It's just a concern that I have. But Felix, you've been patiently waiting. What you got?
No, this is excellent. Actually, the point that I was going to bring up, you guys kind of covered, and it's actually leading me to another question, Michael. Do you think that there's a technological gap right now in between what we have currently with blockchain and software, the debate between Web 2 and Web 3, that in the future that's going to get solved, and that you're right, maybe it is just a buzzword, and that we're at that gap. We're not there yet where we can say, well, this is what the metaverse actually technologically is going to be, and maybe it doesn't need the blockchain for this transparency, and maybe it'll actually solve those issues with the privacy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of fair. I think it might be some kind of middle ground. I think I think all these projects are leveraging the momentum behind the blockchain space. And I hate the blockchain word, honestly, because to me, it's a necessary evil to accomplish a certain aspect of the trilemma, but it's not, to me, it's not necessarily a great selling point because blockchains by nature are inherently inefficient. So where I frustrate easily is when people try to spin these new applications of blockchain technology or like, as soon as you go into a down market, everybody's all of a sudden in it for the tech. And then it's blockchain, not Bitcoin. And 90% of the people that utter those words couldn't spell them or explain them. It's frustrating that there are some good things that could likely come out of it that are all painted with the same brush as the shady, scammy things that come out of it where people are just latching onto the term. And it's hard to kind of decipher the difference between the two. And that's why I appreciate, I know some of the folks that are on this panel that are crazy intelligent in space, that I would value their opinion and trust their opinion. That's why I pose this as a debate, but really I just want to kind of be able to kind of have a discourse on the topic because there's so much scammy bullshit when you get into the blockchain side of the world and just the over marketing of that word. But that's not to say that everything blockchain is inherently not going to have value. So I think that what we're realistically facing is something in the middle here, where the term blockchain is being over leveraged to funnel hype into the space, And then some of the things that it brings money in for ultimately will not be better suited on a blockchain, but they'll be better suited in some type of a privatized, centralized, database, whether it be MySQL or anything else. But I'm not sure where that's going to land. So you might kind of hit the nail on the head where we don't know yet. We're in this weird intermediate step where some of these things that are raising blockchain funds that are being regarded as cryptocurrency funds may just be traditional assets. And there may be nothing wrong with that. But I'm not so sure that we know that yet. But some of these projects are touting themselves as if we will all exist in this future metaverse, where it sounds like Wall-E, we're all just fat and drinking Slurpees on floating chairs. And parts of that don't sound terribly appealing.
Yeah, just a quick point. Full transparency, I don't plan to build anything on my plot of land. It's purely more so a flip / waiting see play. But I do think it's almost like Web 1, like the first generation of the internet. There was a lot of bullshit companies that just threw .com on their name and they went under. They weren't doing anything besides throwing .com on there. So I'm very open to, it's a real possibility, and it's gonna happen. There's gonna be losers that have $100 million of assets that just become worthless because the network's worthless. So it's the risk, but I do think a metaverse in some sense is inevitable at this point. It's getting a lot of attention and it's finding the winner, and we may be too early. We may be trying to do stuff we're not quite ready for. That's a real possibility. And it's trying to find the middle ground of decentralized enough that fucking Facebook isn't controlling all our info like they already are, and then spamming us with the ads and doing everything they can to keep us in. So it's finding the transparency, or the point in between full decentralized where you have no safety net, and then not going overboard like Meta will. So it's kind of a wait and see. It really is. Aragorn, I know you had your hand up. Did you have anything to add?
I slightly forget it, so go ahead.
No, that's mostly what I have on it. But I mean, Web3 is here. It's early, but it's here, and Metaverse and Web3 are going to be an integral part of the mid to near future. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's going to be some crazy developments, and there's going to be a lot of lost money, but there's going to be a lot of money to be made. So it's just, but Floki and Felix are like, okay, you can go ahead. Then I'll get to them.
I was gonna say, how we were saying, well, what if your keys get swiped, whatever, lose access, your whole identity gets swiped, whatever. I'll toss it back on you, Pepe. Like with you covering like specialty insurance, things like that. I think it's just a matter of time before security comes to the space in some odd form or another. What that looks like, whether that's decentralized or a company that's already in existence right now, insurance will naturally come to it once the winners are kind of in place. It isn't going to pop up for these little $1 billion, $2 billion coins, but if there are a couple that rise to the surface, I would fully expect insurance and I don't know, the full package. I think that will come with the maturity of the space.
Absolutely. Quick breakdown. What he is referencing is for like my career is I'm a non-admitted insurance broker, so I sell insurance for anything that can't be wrote on an admitted basis. So I can write a policy, or I can cover something that there's no policy out there for, so we can write on the spot. So I mean, we can cover everything from Tom Brady's arms to Dolly Parton's tits. I mean, it really is limitless what we can cover, and we're getting into the crypto space. My company, my office, we insure a fair amount of Bitcoin miners already. So it's coming. It's semi-slow because insurance it's a dangerous game. You insure something dumb and you have a major loss. It has ripple effects, so they don't want to go overly insuring things they don't fully understand. And then there's the carrier aspect. You have to find a carrier that is willing to write it. So it's very much a wait and see and kind of slowly learning, because insurance naturally is the demographic is older, especially surplus lines. It's getting younger, but it's tough, but it will absolutely happen. It's just when, and it's just the development of crypto. But Floki, and then we can get to you, Felix.
One joke and then a piece of advice. The joke is, once you're all plugged into that metaverse, don't forget to work out. For real. Like,
I'm building a gym on my land.
Yeah. Until they have the hamster ball technology where you're plugged in and moving and jumping in your backyard. Well, anyway, I wanted to share with you guys that I had back surgery a couple of years ago, and getting a standing desk saved my life potentially. And this relates to people on Twitter all day. Sitting is poison, right? So when you're plugged into that metaverse, at least stand up while you're doing it. And if you find yourself sitting on a couch on Twitter, maybe get a standing desk and consider doing it on your computer instead. That is all.
Definitely so. I actually have one at work. It's fantastic. But Felix, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I was gonna actually have a question off of the what you mentioned, the Web3 and the applications. What is your opinion on a lot of these applications now integrating not only cryptocurrencies but NFTs? I think Discord recently announced that they're now exploring how to open, their app to that world. We recently saw Twitter, do the tips. What do you think is coming next?
It's just going to be where websites as payment options, it has wallet connect features, and you'll just have, there's already companies that exist that like PayPal, for example, like they protect you, that your info is in PayPal, and you pay through PayPal, but it kind of protects your info, air quotes. So Web3 will just have wallet integration so that you could just connect your MetaMask theoretically. Like Twitter's going to have NFTs, so you can connect your wallet, and you could only use a profile picture, or you can use one of your NFTs as a profile picture only if it's in your wallet type thing. Which, I mean, you can still say right click save and then put it as your profile, but you can have they're looking to have like an NFT collections page on your profile, so your wallet will be connected and you can go to somebody's Twitter and see what NFTs they have. So things like that. And then like the metaverse will have this very similar thing where you can import your NFTs and have them, like, let's say you have a house on your plot of land, you could put your NFTs on the walls, or you could have your own art gallery type things. So it'll be more in line with that. But we're kind of wrapping up. But yeah, a lot of great talking points. I'm a big NFT guy. I'm a big kind of metaverse, and all that stuff fascinates me. So if you ever have questions, feel free to DM. I'll answer the best of my ability. But if anybody has any kind of final thoughts before we close it out. No, we good. Well, if everybody wants to say a farewell, we can start with you, Floki.
Strength and honor, everyone. I'm going to keep it short. It's good talking to you guys always and listening to the panel. Thank you guys for everything that you share. And Pepe, it is so good to have the best host back.
Glad to be back, my friend. I missed it last week. It hurt my heart. CDP.
I love you guys. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you back next week. And we'll see you in the morning.
Absolutely. Can't wait to tell you, GM, my friend. Aragorn?
Hey, yeah, I'm just excited for how the Discord is evolving. And so probably the latest note is Michael and I have been working on the education resources. And so we're now creating basically 2 separate PDFs. That way you can like literally share them with anybody. That way you don't have to navigate that awkwardness of how do I tell my family about crypto or whatever. So I'm writing up kind of a crypto starter steps. So literally from like first hearing about it to the action points. So kind of that whole what are their literal step-by-steps. And then Michael's created more the resource side of it. So what resources do you actually point them to and stuff. And all of that is located in the resources channel on the Discord. And the Discord is on the Heroes page. Give it a like and follow. Yep. So that's it.
Thank you. Frankie?
Just wanted to say, thank you for having me as a speaker. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to DM me or, reach me at Jack Nicholson on Discord. But yeah, thanks again.
All right. Well, Felix, you're up here. If you want to say a goodbye.
Yeah, no, thank you for everyone for joining, and thanks to the panel. I mean, you guys don't understand how much work they put in every week to provide good content to you guys, and I'm definitely grateful. So thanks to you guys.
All right, Son, you have anything, my friend?
I think Sun Tzu was under the weather. I don't think he was going to speak tonight. I think he's hosting. He's probably asleep by now.
Gotcha. All right, Michael.
I don't have much to add. I appreciate everybody coming out. I thought it was a great night with more participation. I would encourage the more the merrier to come up and participate. We don't bite. We're trying to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. And I'm overall for the week just disappointed we don't get to close out the night singing happy birthday to anybody.
Oh, catch us in the music channel in the Discord after this. Let's all go hang out.
Yeah, that too. Pep, I don't know if you saw that last week, but you gotta tune into the end of last week's Spaces and hear the happy birthday to Cartel. It was epic.
We literally blew the mic out.
It's honestly impressive. I stopped by for like 15-30 minutes, but yeah, I definitely didn't stay up till 2 a.m. with y'all. I might tonight. I don't got work tomorrow, so I was gonna play some Call of Duty. I can hang out in there, listen to music.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody as always for being in here. I appreciate y'all. They already said, but follow the pages, join the Discord if you aren't there already. We'll be back next Wednesday. Appreciate y'all all. If y'all missed anything, check out Crypto Airborne's YouTube. He'll have it posted. And everybody have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.